Hello everyone, welcome to Movie Recap channel. Today I'm going to show you an Indian Predator film from 2022 titled Captain. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. An Indian Special Forces team are on a mission in Sector 42 of the North Forest area. They are suddenly attacked by an unknown enemy, and there are gunshots with soldiers yelling and dying before it goes silent. Captain Vetri and his elite Special Forces team are conducting a hostage rescue operation in the northeast border town. The operation goes smoothly, according to plan, save for one teammate, Karthi, who had infiltrated himself as a doctor getting shot in the leg. After the operation, he is rushed to the hospital by Vetri. Rekha, another teammate in love with Karthi, looks on until the captain pushes her to go look at him in the hospital. The team is very cohesive, having great love for one another, forged through adverse situations together in training and in the field. After the mission, Captain Vetri overhears Karthi bragging to his sister how the captain had saved his life 13 times now, and he is more than just grateful. The captain just smiles and walks away humbly. Vetri and his team are given a new mission straight from headquarters. This time they are to investigate Sector 42 and eliminate the unknown threat believed to be cooped up there. They reach the base camp and a major, surrendering his post, reveals to Vetri that he had been the commanding officer sent earlier to Sector 42, but returned after losing most of his men to an enemy he does not remember. He reveals that one of his men went haywire and shot the other members despite having no history of disease or criminal activity. The captain promises to look further into it. The captain and his team head into the northeast area to check Sector 42. They encounter the same situation, and the captain wakes up unconscious after several hours. He finds all his team members collapsed unconscious and Karthi missing. He finds Karthi a little further away, pointing a gun to his head. When the captain tries to stop him, he shoots him in the shoulder, and then proceeds to put a bullet into his head. He wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor says he has a shoulder injury with a pain that would never really go away. He prescribes morphine to him, but the captain is still very shocked by the death of Karthi. After the hospital, he is summoned for a disciplinary hearing by the general of the army. Before he arrives, his lieutenant strives to convince him to sign the papers, terming Karthi a traitor to the army for firing against his fellow officer. Captain Vetri refuses, and when the general arrives and demands him to sign the papers incriminating his friend, he stands his ground and leaves the room in a fit. They go check the army's thermal radar system, revealing that it was Karthi who knocked them out. Vetri refuses to accept that and orders everyone not to reveal this information. The army refuses to conduct an official funeral ceremony for Karthi and withholds his pension to his family. Vetri instead writes a check to Karthi's family and attends his funeral despite it lacking the 3-gun salute for his work in the army. 1 year later, Vetri is teaching young cadets at the military school. He talks to his major after class, trying to convince her to get him reinstated. She states that it will be a little hard since he insulted the disciplinary committee. She instead encourages him to find a partner and pushes him to go on a date with one of his nieces who is in her final year of medical school. He reluctantly agrees. The major adds a twist by sending his 3 friends to accompany him so he won't skip out on the date, and the captain just rolls his eyes. The captain meets Kavya, and she is a stunning woman. They walk out of the hotel together, and his friends are surprised that the captain has found a date. They begin dating, and she begins to visit the army base frequently just to see the captain. They go out with their friends, play basketball, and she buys him a new phone. They begin to develop deep feelings for each other, and they finally exchange engagement rings. A woman goes into the Ministry of Defense office seeking a meeting with the minister. Though stopped at the reception, she is soon quickly ushered in by the minister's secretary with strict orders to the reception for her meeting not to be recorded. Turns out her name is Kirthi, and she is in charge of Project Minotaur, a secret government project going on in Sector 42. She convinces the minister to give her another chance to complete the project, but this time with backing from the army. The minister promises to do just that, but for the last time. Kirthi gets approval and immediately heads to the army base and chooses Captain Vetri, since he and his team have been to Sector 42 and he is more motivated than anyone. He readily agrees. They go to the research area labs, and the captain and his team are quickly briefed on the situation going on in Sector 42. It appears that what attacked them is a unique species of animal called the minotaur that has evolved in that specific area. These minotaurs have a poison that collapses the human nervous system, thus leading to memory loss and unconsciousness. Their mission is to eradicate them by determining the specific poison that will work on the minotaur. They drive to Sector 42 again, but the first minotaur they meet knocks all of them down. However, Captain Vetri manages to wake up earlier than everyone else and engages the monster alone in a deadly battle. He wins and recovers the body as a sample. When the others wake up, they are surprised, but before they can escape, bio-spider antennae hiding in the minotaur's body cried using bio-radio signals and bring more minotaurs their way. They return to the camp and research the minotaur's body. However, the general still doubts Vetri's testimony of the minotaurs, since he did not collapse like the others in the minotaur's attack. Kirthi takes some of his blood and sends it for research. Meanwhile, the researchers begin examining the minotaur. They discover that the spider that had escaped acted like the signal antenna for the minotaurs. When Vetri questions whether the minotaur is dead, they test by opening the hatchet doors a little to let in signals, and the minotaur begins to show signs of life. They quickly conclude the dissection of the minotaur. However, the little action has brought in the signal antennae from the forest, which sneaks in at night and wakes up the creature. It attacks the night guard and possesses him. When the captain and his team arrive, they find themselves fighting against a possessed guard and are at odds to shoot him. The controlled guard shoots at them and, when cornered, tries to kill himself. But the bullets run out. He kills himself by jumping into the glass. The signal antennae then repossesses the minotaur, and it escapes out into the forest. They send the footage of the signal antennae getting out of the dead officer as evidence to the army to remove the black mark on Carthy. Vetri decides to lead the team to the Minotaur King's position to destroy it completely by triangulating its position. They go into the forest killing minotaurs while setting up radio signals in 3 strategic positions. They succeed in getting to the location of the Minotaur King, but are shocked at what they find. The collapsed crew wakes up 3 hours later, with the captain driving the tank. Kirthi cannot get her head around what happened and has her suspicions that Vetri is hiding something from her, but she can't put a finger on it. She uses the general to squeeze the truth out of Vetri, but he is adamant about knowing nothing. Kirthi informs Vetri that his blood tests have come, and they have realized that the reason the Minotaur's poison does not work on him is because of the morphine in his system. Vetri gets inspired and realizes that Carthy had been on morphine too before his death, thus enabling him to control himself and not kill his fellow soldiers, only injuring them on the shoulder and shooting himself to kill the antennae in his body. He tells his friends this truth, and they plan to go on a Minotaur killing mission without Kirthi. Kirthi looks on, but is unable to do anything. That night, he tells the team that they have already met the Minotaur King, courtesy of the 3 missing hours on their last mission into Sector 42. But it is only Vetri who remembers, since he had morphine in his system. Kirthi had been in the area 2 years ago to set up a factory plant for rare minerals, but their plan was cut short by the existence of Minotaur species local to the area, and unhappy with the pollution released from all the mining. Vetri had retrieved a disc with vlogs of the former team, what they were doing and how they died as evidence to be given to the general. They leave the next day to Kirthi's frustration, but are too far to be stopped even when the general is informed. An officer hands over the Verdi's disc to the general, and when the general realizes the truth, he bids his time. They go to the site of the Minotaur King, and Verdi is attacked by a signal antenna that manages to control him. He goes into the tank and shoots his comrades down before going to confront the king. The team playing dead switches off the cameras just at the opportune moment, and the general at camp loses view of them. Now all alone, they get up revealing it was all an act. Verdi is snatched by the king into the water, and he engages in a deadly fight with the huge creature who is intent on drowning him. Other minotaurs begin to surround the river as the fight goes on, and the captain almost loses the fight to the king. He gets up just in time to grab a floating can and breathes in some air before finishing his mission of setting up explosives on the king's tentacles and then blowing it up. All the living Minotaur soldiers died after their king is killed. Vetri sees a lot of Minotaur eggs at the bottom of the lake, deducing that it is the treasure the king, now queen, was protecting. They return to camp and are welcomed as heroes. He tells Kirthi that the Minotaurs were only fighting against the pollution she and her team were unearthing to the environment. The general decides to keep the forest area closed into the foreseeable future, protecting the Minotaur's species. The captain returns to base, and the army conducts an official funeral for Karthi with his mother and, shockingly, his sister Kavya attending. The film ends with Captain holding Kavya's hands atop the base's balcony, a sign of him being by her side from then on. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. I'll be back with another interesting movie recap. Until then, take care.